and welcome to the Dr. Gerry Fishkin Show, where psychology meets life in all its messy, beautiful, and bewildering complexity. I'm your host, Dr. Gerry Fishkin, and today's episode is deeply personal for me, and I hope for you as well. So let me begin with a question. What happens when you wake up one day and realize that despite everything you've achieved, your career, your family, your health, you still feel empty, not broken, not in crisis, just adrift. That hollow ache behind the eyes, that subtle voice whispering, "Is this all there is?" It's a question I've faced myself, and maybe you have too. When I was a teenager, my mother handed me a slim, haunting book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It hit me like a freight train. I was too young to understand all of it, but somehow it understood me. I was 13. My parents were going through a divorce, and I was in pain. It helped to take me out of my pain and adolescent angst. It showed me I had a choice in terms of another way I could view my life situation and make a change in how I reacted to it. So fast forward nearly 2 decades. I'm in my doctoral program, and I learned that Dr. Viktor Frankl himself, yes, the same man whose words lit a fire in me years before, is coming to teach a course in San Diego at my university. Not only did I take the course, after I told Dr. Frankl my compelling story of reading his book in high school, he appointed me as his graduate assistant for that quarter. Can you imagine that? From a dog-eared paperback in high school to face-to-face meetings with the man who had survived the camps and created a therapy built on hope. As a thank you for assisting him during his class, I still have the 2 books he signed for me, complete with his caricatures of himself. Here's the first book, The Unconscious God, but more important, Man's Search for Meaning. He gave me the book and he said, "To Gerry," and this was from Viktor Frankl, one of the most meaningful possessions I have, this little book. They sit in my home office to this day, a reminder that life sometimes hands us exactly the mentor we need when we need him the most. So today, let's talk about Viktor Frankl, not just the man, but the message. His story can help change the way you look at your life, and I hope this has meaning for you as it does for me. So, I hope you're in a comfortable setting as we explore Dr. Viktor Frankl's life, his experiences that formed his deep convictions regarding man's need for meaning and purpose, and methods, most important, methods to help individuals get there. And a lot of what I talk about today is not in any of his books, but came from the lectures and my experience with Dr. Frankl. Born in 1905 in Vienna, Dr. Viktor Frankl was a brilliant student of medicine and psychology, initially influenced by Freud and Adler. But Frankl saw something they didn't. He firmly believed that human beings weren't driven merely by pleasure or power. No. He said the deepest drive was something else entirely, the will to meaning. In 1942, he and his pregnant wife, along with his parents and brother, were deported to Nazi concentration camps. Only Frankl survived. He lost everything: his family, his home, his freedom, even the books that he was writing and the manuscripts that he had. He told me he lost everything. But he didn't lose his ability to choose his attitude. Very important, and I want you to remember this. In the darkest place on earth, Frankl noticed something extraordinary. Some prisoners held on to their humanity. They gave away bread. They comforted others, and it hit him. Life can have meaning even in suffering, especially in suffering. This became the foundation of logotherapy, his therapeutic approach. Logos in Latin is meaning. Dr. Frankl died in Vienna, Austria in 1997 of heart failure at the age of 92. I'll discuss more about his logotherapy techniques later in the show. So you don't have to be in Auschwitz or Dachau or a concentration camp to experience existential despair. You just have to be human in the 21st century. Frankl called it the existential vacuum. It is that silent, gnawing sense that life lacks meaning. And you feel it when you scroll through social media for an hour and can't remember what you saw. You've got everything you thought you wanted, but still feel vaguely discontent. You look at your calendar and wonder, why am I even doing this? In our world, we have abundance without direction. We've got algorithms that can predict our next move. And we live in a comparison culture where ordinary lives look dim next to everyone else's highlight reel. And so we numb ourselves. Netflix, wine, doom scrolling, porn, shopping sprees, affairs, sometimes even addictions. And I write about that in my book, The Science of Shame. The more choices we have, the more paralyzed we feel. A first world problem, I believe at best. Frankl didn't pathologize this. He understood it. But he also knew the way out. Dr. Frankl taught that meaning is something we create. It's not something we wait for. He outlined 3 pathways. Number 1, creative values. What we give, what we write, what we build, who we serve. Baking cookies for an oncology unit at a local cancer infusion center. Teach your grandson how to fish. Do a podcast like this. And by the way, Viktor said, these creative values help get us out of our head. Number 2, experiential values. What we receive. Laughter with a friend, music that moves you, a walk in nature, something that has awe or is awe-inspiring. Again, things that we experience get us out of our cognition, out of our head. And number 3, attitudinal values, which is how we respond. This is the heavy one, folks. Choosing dignity in suffering, turning pain into purpose. Let me give you an example. A woman in her 50s came to see me, grieving the loss of her teenage son. She was drowning in sorrow. Nothing made sense. It was a fentanyl death, by the way. Over time, she began volunteering with mothers who had lost children to overdose and suicide. She said, and this was a quote to me, "If I can just help one mother feel less alone, then maybe my boy's life still echoes." That, my friends, is meaning in motion. Frankl also talked of tragic optimism. This is the refusal to let suffering be the last word. Not everything happens for a reason, but rather, given that this happened, What reason can I create? You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be engaged. And by the way, there is no perfect. I always use in practice the word perfectly imperfect because I think that really identifies who we are and how we could be, not should be, but how we could be. So let's make this real. Try this tomorrow morning. Write on a sticky note. This is a quote. Today I will blank, so that matters. Stick it to your bathroom mirror. Let it guide your day. Feeling disconnected? Volunteer once a week. 1 hour. That's 52 hours of meaning a year. Struggling at work? Change your description. I don't just clean floors. I create dignity for patients. I just don't sell insurance. I protect dreams. In grief, write a letter of continuation. What would your loved one ask you to carry forward for them? What would they want? Write a letter of continuation. Get your head out of the misery part and into the proactive part. In pain, well, keep a journal. What hurts? What can this teach me or inspire in me? Purpose doesn't require perfection. As I said, it requires participation. So let's take a moment right now to connect with purpose. Sit comfortably. If you're driving, eyes on the road, and pay attention, please. Take a slow breath in and then out. Picture someone or something worth showing up for today. Now whisper aloud. Today, I choose blank for the sake of blank. Again, today I choose blank for the sake of blank. Here are several examples of the Meaning Minute to help make this concept more meaningful for you or someone you might know. Number 1, for someone struggling with burnout at work, today I choose patience for the sake of preserving my mental health and dignity. Instead of letting the stress consume them, this person is reclaiming their personal agency. They're not quitting, but they're choosing how to show up with clarity, not chaos. For a new parent adjusting to sleepless nights, and boy, do I have that in my practice. Today, I choose presence for the sake of building a bond my child will feel forever. So you can take it out of the I've lost sleep, I've got sleep deprivation, to looking at it a different way. I am creating a bond that will last forever. I can overcome this sleep issue. Get sleep when you can, okay? But remember, you're building a bond. This reminds the parent that even in exhaustion, those small moments, eye contact, soothing, holding, building a legacy of love. Number 3, for someone recovering from loss or grief, today, I choose getting out of bed for the sake of honoring the life that still wants to be lived. Remember, depression, we don't want to get out of bed. We want to stay in bed. The important thing is get out of bed, get active. A simple but courageous act. Getting up is framed not as obligation, but as a quiet declaration of life continuing. Number 4, for a person navigating addiction recovery, today I choose honesty for the sake of becoming someone I can trust. Each choice builds inner integrity and reflects the long, steady return to one's true self. Each of these statements is a small act of rebellion against what Frankl called the existential vacuum. With each statement, you're stepping out of the vacuum and you're stepping into your life. Okay, biography lesson complete. And now let's get practical. I want to briefly explore 3 of Viktor Frankl's core logotherapy techniques. Not that you have to be a psychologist, psychiatrist, or counselor, but I want you to understand it because they can apply to you in your life. First is dereflection, then paradoxical intention, and Socratic dialogue. Don't be taken back by these words. I'm going to explain them all, each of which can help us navigate psychological distress by reconnecting us with meaning. So, dereflection. Sometimes we get stuck inside our own heads. Sometimes, most of the time, I think. I think we obsess, we overanalyze, but dereflection helps redirect that energy outward. Instead of focusing on what's wrong with you, focus on how you can help someone else. Example, a client overwhelmed by anxiety found relief by volunteering at an animal shelter. Shifting focus from herself to the animals grounded her in something meaningful and external. Again, external, getting out of your head. Small acts of compassion for others helps us get out of our head. Number 2, paradoxical intention. Here's where Frankl got very clever. When fear dominates, Frankl sometimes prescribed doing the very thing we fear on purpose. I'll give you an example. A man with severe public speaking anxiety was instructed to try to sweat as much as possible during his next speech. What was the result? His fear lost its grip. By playfully exaggerating the fear, he stripped it of its power. The other method he uses is what we call Socratic dialogue. I use this all the time in my clinical practice. Again, I learned at his knee. So Frankl didn't just give advice. He asked questions, deep ones, deep questions, questions that led people to their own answers, insights, and understandings. I'll give you an example. Instead of saying, quote, you need to find purpose in your life, Frankl might ask, what legacy would you want to leave if today were your last day? These questions create a conversation with the soul, helping people rediscover forgotten passions and longings. These tools aren't magic tricks. They're invitations to step out of fear and back into purpose. They empower us to choose our attitude and reshape our narrative. Remember that. Reshape our narrative. Frankl didn't just believe in meaning. He handed us tools to find it ourselves. So let's land this plane. Frankl believed that while we can't always choose our circumstances, we can choose our response. And in that space lies our power. So let's remember these key points. Number 1, meaning is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Example, that Sunday afternoon walk with your dog, that could be the moment your heart finally exhales. I have a little Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, Jamie, and I walk him every day. And that is the time, that 7 or 8 minute walk around the block gives me time to decompress, bond with my dog, and also let the air out between my ears. So number 2, freedom and responsibility walk hand in hand. Example, choosing compassion during a heated argument not only diffuses the moment, it ripples through your relationships. I was backing out of my driveway last week, and my neighbor across the street had a house guest who had a rental car. Backing out of my driveway, I accidentally hit her car. And anyway, the long and the short was I remember what Viktor would say. A compassionate response. This was an older woman. Maybe she didn't see me. But when I got out of the car and she got out of the car, I said, I am so sorry. And I actually hugged her. And in that moment, I didn't have any anger or anguish. I didn't care about my car. It's going to get fixed. Our car is going to get fixed. But more importantly, it didn't destroy my day because I had a 7-hour workday that day. Okay. When we aim beyond ourselves, we find our true selves. I'll give you an example. The retiree who volunteers at a food pantry finds more vitality than he ever did in board meetings. Even suffering can be transformed when it's given a purpose. I'll give you an example. A cancer survivor becomes a mentor and brings healing both ways. When I was receiving chemotherapy for my bladder cancer, I had stage 2 bladder cancer, and I filmed an episode for my show. It took my mind off the situation I had no control over, just my attitude about it and my desire to share it with others in the same situation. Check it out on YouTube. We're not here to drift. We're here to mean something. Frankl said, life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning. And in that regard, he believed that finding one's own meaning and purpose in life does not have to be a difficult process. And in that, he found support and wisdom in the words of Nietzsche, who wrote, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how." Think about that. Each of us must find our own unique why to have a fulfilled and healthy life in spite of the circumstances life throws at us. Until next time, remember, life is asking something of you. Are you listening? If today's message spoke to you, try the Meaning Minute every morning for 1 week and email me your breakthroughs at drjerry@drjerryfishkin.com. I might just read them on air. And yes, I'll send you one of my beautiful Dr. Gerry Fishkin Show mugs, Good Fish Productions, as a thank you. And you can follow me on social media and especially at my new website, drjerryfishkin.com. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your family, friends, and anyone you know who seems lost or in pain. I'd love to hear your stories. Until next time, I'm Dr. Gerry Fishkin, wishing you success in finding the meaning and purpose in life. Always remember to keep searching, keep growing, and keep saying yes to life.